Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Pockets Full of Soup. I'm your host, Jared Petty, joined today by the marvelous, the wonderful, the gifted, Alanah Pearce.
Hi.
Welcome, Alanah. So glad to have you here.
Thank you. I'm very glad to be here.
Alanah, where do people know you from?
I work with you at IGN.
Ooh, that's one place to work.
That is the place that we work, yeah.
Where else can people find you?
I also have a YouTube channel. I DJ sometimes, and I also do commission artwork.
You DJ?
I do, yeah.
Yeah, do you DJ here in San Francisco? Or?
I have been a little.
Yeah.
I played at Bottom of the Hill, which is like a really old, cool kind of divey place. That was a really fun set. I played something that I would say is inspired by Hotline Miami.
Oh, really?
It was a really cool set, yeah.
Oh, that's kind of
It was good fun, yeah.
What kind of DJ are you? I am not well versed in the ways of DJs, though I know several of them. I don't know much about the act of creating music. So what's DJing like for you?
So I'm not a producer, which is someone who actually creates the music.
Okay.
Which I'm sure I would love doing because it's like a lot of engineering and it's very mathematical and technical, and I think I would love doing it, but it's also very time consuming. It can take like 10 hours for you to produce one song, and I feel like it's on my bucket list that I'll get to doing that eventually, but right now, don't have time. DJing is mixing, so I would divide people in types of DJs depending on what kind of music they play. Of course, there's turntable DJs, and then there's CDJ DJs, and I am a CDJ
Are
DJ.
you a CDJ or a CD DJ?
Either.
Okay.
So I don't play with records. I play with USBs, CDs. I played with SD cards or sometimes a Mac. So it's all digital. I have the songs, on hand basically. But sometimes I'll play house music. Sometimes at one time I just played like an hour of Blink-182 and The Offspring.
Really?
That was really fun.
Just mixing between them,
yeah.
And this is all kind of digital crossfading and bringing tracks in and
no
out.
Crossfading.
No?
It's all beat matching. So what I do is I line up songs, I figure out the keys of the songs because everything has to be similar key if you transition to one or the other. And you can cue things so you can listen to it before everyone else hears it to be like, okay, I think this is going to mix well into this. And then they have to be the same beats per minute for you to then transfer from one song into the other. So sometimes I will play the same song for only like 30 seconds, and then the rest of it is me mixing two songs together.
Oh, really?
So you have like the bass on one and off on the other, and then the highs and the lows. And
you're doing this on the fly?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is not something you program ahead of time. This is something you create in the moment.
Absolutely. Some people do it ahead of time, and that's totally fine. There's different ways of DJing. That's not the way I do it because I think I kind of like it being loose, and responding to a crowd is one thing that I think I'm best at. So it's like I like looking at a crowd and being like, that's my challenge. Those are the people that I have to entertain. And this is the stuff I think they're going to like.
So the multi-talented Alanah Pearce, writer, video blogger, reporter, toy specialist, DJ, and visual artist at all, etc.
Yes.
Right? I miss anything?
Terrible cook.
Terrible cook, also.
Can't sew.
Alanah, here on Pockets Full of Soup, the first question's pretty much always the same. Tell me about somebody you're thankful for.
Yeah, no, I mean, you already prepared me for this.
Yeah.
But it's still a really hard question to answer when you put it that bluntly.
Yeah?
It's like, I have to pick one?
Well, that's the idea, yes. I mean, you could cheat, I suppose. So we don't have reciprocity. The Pockets Full of Soup police are not going to rush in from off camera. They couldn't. The fisheye's too wide. They
That's
couldn't
true.
be hiding
That would be
anywhere.
very
But
obvious.
Yeah, we really do need to consider replacing the camera. But
I think it's nice.
oh yeah, like that woo effect.
It's good.
Yeah, I mean, just answer the question as you feel comfortable. This is a happy place with a remarkably forgiving community of people around it. So,
I mean, my immediate go-to answer is always going to be my mom.
okay.
But I know you've already had people discuss parents.
Yep. No, we can never have too many parents. As a matter of fact, we're going to keep a count. I mean, these record out of order, but right now, just with what we have in the can, we've already got a 2-person dad count. And a 1-person mom count, and I think we're eventually going to keep a count of everything to see how, because there's dads and moms are going to be popular. But yeah,
popular.
It's not the person you're most thankful for necessarily. It's just somebody you're thankful for.
Well, yeah, the answer that, and I debated this for a while, the answer I'm going to go with is every woman who inspired me while I was growing up.
No, wait a minute. That's not one person.
It's not one person.
No. So you're cheating.
I'm cheating, yes.
Okay, well, I'm scared of you.
The police aren't here.
Yeah, the police aren't here, and I'm frightened that you can beat me up if you want to. So I think we'll go ahead with that.
All right.
That sounds good. All right. So every woman, say that again. I want to make sure that that's clear.
It's every woman who inspired me or taught me that I could do stuff while I was growing up.
Is every woman a lot of women or a few women?
It's definitely a lot of women.
Yeah.
Including my mom.
Including your mom.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about your mom first and start
Sure.
there. All right. How did your mom inspire you? Said you're talking about someone who inspired you specifically. How?
So to speak specifically about my mom, she was a single mom for most of my childhood. I think my parents split up when I was about 10, and my mom worked at a place that was like over an hour away. So she would have to, my sister and I had to get the bus to school every day and back. Mm-hmm. So we kind of had to be very independent, but she was like consistently getting promoted and managing 2 basically resorts that were, 5-star luxury places. They're absolutely beautiful. And she was doing that while being a single mother and cooking for us every day and still getting home and playing with us and helping us with our homework and just doing a million things that it doesn't, some days you just feel like you have too much on your plate and you can't do anything.
Yeah.
My mom always did it.
Always.
Yeah.
Hey, let me ask you this. Go back here and roll it back a little bit. So you say your mom was a single mother. Mm-hmm. Do you remember your mom being a single mother the whole time you were growing up? I mean, was she always a single mother during your childhood?
I mean, I remember very small handful of instances of things that happened with both of my parents there.
Okay.
But it's kind of like very scattered. Like
mm-hmm.
I remember a few occasions, but for most of the time, I think she was a single mom. And then I think when I was about 13, she met my stepdad, who is also another person I'm very thankful for.
Okay.
Some people have awful step parents. I mean, I'm thankful for my dad too. They're all great people. I got very lucky with my family, but
so you didn't have a wicked stepfather. You had a good stepfather.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because wicked step parents kind of a staple of fantasy literature, kind of important to the whole
also
Disney
just
thing.
Seems very common, weirdly common, and I kind of get that because my dad remarried, and the woman he remarried was truly awful.
Okay.
Just not very nice. They separated, but she just didn't like my sister and I very much. And I think that stuff like that happens because it's like, oh, that is something that ties you to this other person that you were married to. And people have issues with that. And I get that now, but at the time it was very frustrating. But
so your mom and your dad separated when you were small?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you were raised in the custody of your mother along with your sister.
Yeah.
So your mother managed 2 resorts, and you say she always managed to, so she was balancing a demanding career.
Yeah.
And raising 2 children.
Yeah.
How'd she do it?
I have absolutely no idea.
Have you ever asked her?
I think that she was stressed a lot of the time, and she just did a very good job of hiding that from us. But I didn't really need to ask her because as I got older, I saw it firsthand. Like even growing up with my stepdad there as well and having him as another very good parent, my mom was still working full time and ended up studying. She graduated, I think, 2 years ago, whilst also working full time. And it's like everything that she did in my childhood that she managed to pull off and managed to, like, despite my dad being schizophrenic and us having a potentially damaging childhood, the fact that my sister and I still both turned out to have really cool careers and be very positive and, I guess, motivated people, I feel like is a tribute to my mom, and my dad will credit her for that too. And it's like, growing up, I can absolutely see why. She's just such a driven person.
When you use the term schizophrenic, do you mean literally suffering from schizophrenia?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's literally schizophrenic. He's medicated now, meaning my dad is an angel, but he wasn't while we were growing up.
No, it's a difficult disease.
Yeah.
It's a very difficult disease.
I'm almost thankful for it giving me a very good understanding of mental health.
Yeah?
Yeah.
How so?
I guess people who aren't familiar with or haven't lived with mental health issues can say things like, you'll get over it, or you're just moody. People, if you don't understand, you just dismiss it. And I don't want to criticize people for that because it is hard to understand. Like, depression is something that people are often like, well, you'll just cheer up, you'll get better, or come out, it'll make you feel better. And that's not how that works. And I think, growing up with someone who had schizophrenia and seeing firsthand how he had basically like 2 sides to him completely, and one of them was just very angry and the other one wouldn't even remember what the angry version did. And seeing that just kind of made me a lot more open to realizing that everyone deals with things differently because everyone is wired differently and nothing is just get over it.
Did your mother help you understand this as a child?
I mean, Mom was very brave about it, and it was a situation where they stayed together for quite a long time because she wanted us to have 2 parents. I mean, yeah, she did. Yeah. And I think she also being so understanding and compassionate throughout everything that happened in my childhood also made me kind of understand it a little bit more.
Yeah.
Like that's something that I'm definitely grateful that I learned from.
So from your mother, if you could encapsulate the lessons into, give me 3 words, 3 descriptive adjectives to describe what your mother taught you, or nouns. Nouns are descriptive adjectives to describe what your mother taught you growing up.
So what I want to say is the phrase "nothing is too hard."
Okay, that's fine. We'll take that instead.
That's what I want to say. My mom taught me nothing is too hard.
Nothing is too hard. Do you believe that still?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I wouldn't be here if I didn't.
How so?
I mean, I'm 22, and I managed to somehow get hired at IGN, who got me a visa, and I now live in San Francisco, while most of the other people I went to school with are still studying and doing all that kind of stuff. And I think, part of that is a drive and a ambition and desire to achieve stuff that comes from nothing is too hard.
Nothing is too hard. So, and that creed, did you buy into it immediately as a child, or did it take a while?
Definitely would have taken a while.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that I failed at, as everyone does when they're a teenager. I gained a whole lot of weight towards the end of high school, and it took me a really long time to lose that weight. And I was very unhealthy because I'm also asthmatic and have several structural problems. I would consider myself disabled. Like, I have 3 separate chronic illnesses.
Oh my.
I don't share that very often.
No.
Because people treat you differently if they kind of know the details of that kind of stuff. But it's
you're telling a fairly large audience.
Well, I'm not going to tell anyone what they are.
Okay.
But
I appreciate you sharing it, honestly.
Yeah,
Your frankness is
part of it is being just exhausted all the time.
Yeah.
And it's like, stuff that like makes you feel like your body's working against you. And I let that happen for a really long time before I lost weight. But then when I did, which again, I have to thank women on social media for sharing fitness stuff, for inspiring me to finally do it. Mm-hmm. I just completely changed my quality of life.
So you said from the beginning you were gonna talk. You were thankful for every woman. I imagine we're not going to get to all of them by name, but because of that, we'll go back to your mom some. But let's take that comment you just made. Women on social media that helped you through this difficulty with your health. Can you tell me somebody specific?
The one that I want to say is Jen Selter, but I feel like people will laugh at me for that. Jen Selter is she's a 23-year-old girl on Instagram who just mostly posts pictures of herself. She's a huge butt.
Okay.
Very nice butt. And she's very fit and just also very positive, despite people constantly trash talking her in comments. And I think she's got something like nearly 1 billion followers. Like, she's got a lot, however many it is. It's probably not that many, but it's a ton.
What's the basis of her following on Instagram? What's the draw there?
Her very nice butt, I think.
Okay. She's a model then? I mean, she's an Instagram model?
I guess, but it's a butt that she obtained by fitness, right? So it was like, this is the person who works out every day and looks like this and is very confident in looking like this and sharing this, and seeing that, despite my reasons for wanting to lose weight being very health related, was like, if there was a day where I felt very lazy and felt like I didn't want to do any exercise and felt like it was my body's working against me and it's too hard and I should just give up because everyone else is more capable of doing things and I'm not. It's like, that's the person who would make me like, you know what? She did it today. I can do it too. So I did.
No kidding.
I think I lost 40 pounds.
Wow.
I'm not sure. It's 20 kilos. I don't know what
20 kilos is about 44 pounds.
Yeah.
Okay, that's extraordinary.
Yeah, it was quite a bit of weight.
Can you teach me your secret?
Go to the gym. Follow Jen Selter and her fabulous butt on Instagram.
That's the answer. Does she know that you feel this way about her?
I've interacted with her before.
Yeah.
Very vaguely, but I don't imagine that she would know that. I'm sure that she realizes she inspires people, and that's probably why she can just post so much stuff. But like, there's a lot of other women that I follow on there. It's different. While there are totally men who inspire me in a bunch of different ways, I think when you look at a woman who's doing something, it's like, hey, I could actually do that. Whereas if you see a man doing it, it's not always quite the same, because I guess people in a lot of our top positions, especially in the industry that I work in, are men anyway. And CEOs are most often men, and people who work in politics are most often men. So when you see a woman do it, it's like sometimes you won't even realize that you can accomplish something until you see someone who is like you doing it.
I don't want to put words in your mouth, so let me make sure I'm understanding you correctly. You're saying that the way you see kind of a default setting that might, from growing up and looking, well, men there, men there, men there, men there, men there, and these are people that helped you understand, no, that's not how things need to be or ought to be?
I don't think it was ever that I was like, oh, there's men there, therefore I shouldn't do this. It was just that there would be things that I hadn't even considered that I could do.
Yeah.
Like lifting weights. That's all I do at the gym. I don't do any cardio. And I was always like, oh, but women can't lift weights or they'll get muscly, and that's gross. And was like, wait, that's not true at all. It's all these women lift
Who taught you that?
And
Was that Jen that taught you that, or
what?
About lifting weights?
I guess partly. Like, it totally would have been women on Instagram who told me that. Absolutely. Yeah. And I wouldn't have known if I hadn't have started following all of these people. And it's just like that. So I can't really do cardio because it hurts too much and my asthma is really bad. So I always would try to run on a treadmill and not be able to do it. And then I learned that I can lift weights and get my heart rate up just as well, and that can keep me healthy. And I'm so glad that I figured that out.
So weightlifting and weight training.
Yeah.
Okay. That's really cool.
I also started swimming, actually.
Oh,
recently.
really?
Yeah. The gym on, it's maybe like an hour away from work, but it's still in San Francisco. And it's like, I didn't realize it was even part of my membership. And now I do laps there twice a week.
Yeah. And that doesn't exasperate your asthma?
Doesn't hurt me at all.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's really, really cool.
Yeah.
So we've talked about your mother, who taught you that effectively nothing was too hard. Mm-hmm. And I want to ask you a follow-up to that, because I've been thinking about this since you said it. Next time you fail, what are you going to do with that conviction?
I feel like I fail all the time in little ways, right? That's part of being human. Mm-hmm. Usually if I fail, I'm just more motivated to try again.
Okay. So failure is a temporary condition.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah,
that's really a beautiful way of putting it.
That's what I wanted to ask. I wondered if that was how you felt about it. I wanted to get your feeling on the matter. So we've talked about your mother. We talked about Jen. But because we're cheating tonight and going all around, let's talk about somebody else. Who else? What other woman do you want to talk about that taught you about the things you can do?
Can I say Buffy?
Yeah.
Or Xena?
Or
both?
Or Buffy Xena?
Buffy and Xena.
Buffy and Xena. All right. Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Xena the Warrior Princess.
Yes.
What did they teach you?
Buffy taught me that you don't have to fit a mold, which I think is super important. So Buffy is the on paper stereotypical pretty blonde cheerleader. Mm-hmm. But then secretly she's also the chosen one and the person who saves everyone, right?
Right.
And it's like nobody would ever expect that from the pretty blonde cheerleader. But then Buffy did it anyway and didn't care what anyone thought of it. And it's like even the relationships in that show aren't about being pigeonholed. It's just about a girl kicking butt despite people not really wanting her to.
How's that relate to Xena?
Xena is kind of a little more superficial, but very similar in the kick butt way. But that show I particularly love because of the relationships with other women as well. It's like they just empower each other, and that's really cool. And it's like that kind of teaches you that not everything that you have to do has to serve a male perspective. Mm-hmm. And she's also just a really cool person. Lucy Lawless is
Lucy Lawless
cool.
is rad.
Yeah.
She really is. She's fantastic.
She retweeted me once.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, that's it.
It was very cool.
That just like thank you, Lucy Lawless.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah,
it's kind of fantastic. No, I loved her on Battlestar.
Yes,
a few other places she's been. She's wonderful. So both those people showing you that archetypical molds don't have to actually become archetypes. That you can subvert expectations. Am I putting words in your mouth there, or is that?
No, I think that's right. And that stuff happens all the time. Like to use a very relevant example, like if I ever post a fitness photo on Instagram, and I do somewhat often. My reason for doing that is always I was inspired to get fit by seeing other people do this. So I'm going to repay that. So it's like maybe once every 6 months, I will post a fitness related photo where I'm like, hey, I'm at the gym working out. This is what I'm doing today. And then I will sometimes get comments from women being like, thank you. You inspired me to do that. And it's like paying it forward, right?
Yeah.
If people help me on social media, I'm going to try and help other people on social media.
Try and help other people.
Right.
Let's talk about how you're going to do that. You've mentioned 4 women now. Two real women, 2 fictional characters with inspiring arcs and great character development in both cases. All these people have taught you things. You're 22 years old. Mm-hmm. You're remarkably successful for a person at that stage in your life, especially considering what you want to do, what your ambitions were. You have realized your earliest ambitions, and you've realized them very quickly. How are the lessons you learned from these women going to be passed on in what you do? How are they being passed on in what you do?
I mean, one thing that I was really proud of this year was I've watched live streams of E3 for as long as I can remember, because obviously I can never make it to the US. So I would watch the Xbox conference and I would watch the PlayStation conference, and I would be super excited that there were never any women on those panels. Mm-hmm. And so I wonder if I had have seen a woman on one of those panels that was talking about this stuff, if I had have seen that, maybe I would have been like, hey, I could do that. And I would have tried earlier. You know, I always got straight A's in English. Not straight A's, but I got A's in English. And I was in extension, which means the grade above what you're meant to be in.
Yeah.
So it's something that I always really liked and always worked really hard at, but it's not ever something that I considered making a career out of because it had never occurred to me that I could. It's like maybe if I had seen a woman on something like a live stream, then I would have thought I can do that. And I've always loved video games as well, so it would have been a perfect pairing, which is why I now have this job. Mm-hmm. And I'm super proud of seeing a bunch of other women from IGN on each of those live stream panels mm-hmm. and being on one myself. Like, I think that's really cool, and it's something that at IGN I work very hard to make sure that we have a lot of women seen on things just for that purpose. It's not, sometimes people take it as like tokenism. Like, you're having mm-hmm. a woman on there because you need to have a chick. It's like, no, we have these women who are awesome at doing what they do, and it's also that they come with the added bonus of inspiring other women to do it too.
Let me ask you, I'm gonna veer for a second because you're going down a theme that I think you'll have something to say about here. And it does have to do with thankfulness, but I want to give you a chance to just share your thoughts on this. What would you say? No, I'm going to save that. Actually, there's a question. You know what? I'm just going to read this question instead. I let people know you were going to be on the show, and it's a question somebody asked. This is from a fella on our Facebook group. You can join the Facebook group at the Pockets Full of Soup Facebook group. This is from Franklin Sizemore, mm-hmm. who's part of our Facebook group, who says spoons, which apparently is a thing now. Uh-huh. We're trying to decide whether we're soup heads or super friends or superheroes, or we're still working on a term.
I like that. That's good.
But what can I do as a man to help change how other men treat women? I'm sure you've experienced harassment. Not that it's right, and the fact that I can assume that this reflects how wrong our society is. I'd like to help in some way to change this. This is a question he has. I'd like you to address that, if you don't mind, in your own words.
I don't really feel like white knighting is much of a thing. You know, the term white knighting, for people who don't know what it is, I feel like most people probably would, is like the idea that sticking up for a woman, or people only do it because they want to sleep with them. Anytime that I see a guy stick up for me, there's pretty much no point where I have thought that he was doing it because he wanted to sleep with me. And every single time it is valuable, because sometimes people don't take the stuff women say that seriously. That's mm-hmm. just the way that is. It's not remarkably common, but it definitely happens. And I think just speaking up when something goes wrong is always helpful. I don't think that there's any wrong way to go about that. And if you're not going to do it because you're worried about people calling you a white knight, it kind of cancels out the niceness of it. Just do it anyway. Mm-hmm. It's like, pretty often people will tell me that I only got where I am because I'm a girl, or because of the way that I look, or something like that. And I don't even address those comments anymore, because it's like, it's not worth fighting really at this point. Mm-hmm. But sometimes my audience, especially on YouTube, because they know me very well and I'm very personal with that audience, will respond to and filter out those comments before I have to. And that's awesome. It's people being like, well, actually, here's her resume, or they'll link to stuff that I've done. And that definitely means a lot. And especially just like even making a comment to someone. I tweeted the other day about how pretty much any time that a woman is talking on camera about a topic that she cares about, I think that you should comment on what she's saying before you comment on how she looks. So even if that's like, hey, I agree, or hey, I disagree, also you're pretty, fine. Mm-hmm. As long as you comment on what she's talking about first, and not just you're pretty or you're ugly, right? Then I think you're addressing the human and not just the appearance of the human. And I shared that, and a lot of responses are always, it's never going to change, give up. And it's like, but it is, because every time that I share something like this, or you share something like this, or you tell someone else about this behavior, that's another person who learns. And I think that's totally helpful.
Yeah, I'm gonna step out of the interviewer's chair for just a second. I don't preach very often, but there's a story I want to tell that you remind me of. I may have told this on a couple other places before. When I was in high school, I was walking to the bathroom in my school, and my shoe was untied. So I bent down to tie my shoe right mm-hmm. outside the bathroom door. And as I stood up, I looked at the door frame just from the angle I was standing at, standing up there, and saw something I'd never seen before. You don't look at the bathroom door in a high school. Above the door where it said boys, there was something bleeding through the paint underneath the word. I was like, there was something painted over there. It said boys over the men's room. And I looked carefully, and clear as day, you could make out the word coloreds. Now, I grew up in the American South, and that was the term that was used during segregation mm-hmm. to separate white and black Americans in public facilities, at water fountains, at restaurants, at all kinds of places. I saw that, and it hit me in the gut about two different ways. First, it taught me that there was one coat of paint between me and segregation. That was it. The only difference between this fundamental change in the world I grew up in was one coat of paint away. That's not a long period of time.
That's crazy.
But second, it taught me that things can and do change when people keep working to make them change. It does. Every now and then, the good guys win one.
I definitely think so. Yeah.
And what you're saying there, I think that reminds me of that. I hope I don't want to hijack the interview.
Oh no, you're totally welcome to share stories like that. Obviously,
that's a point that popped out for me.
Yeah, so. And I think it's something that happens all the time. Like especially when I tweeted that, people kept telling me this is never going to change, or like, why do you care? It's like, well, it's not that like I'm upset because I'm not, and I'm usually not angry. It's just, why would I not share it if it teaches one person something? You know, I don't. Yeah. It's always helpful. Always.
Are you still learning about this as you get older? I mean, are some of your assumptions about what women can do, about what doors are going to open, are they changing as you get older? Are you learning? Is the world changing?
Yeah. I mean, you learn new things every single day. And there's also like things that I learn from being friends with different women too. You know, Jen, who was a good friend of mine, is Vietnamese, and talking to her about the combination of racism and sexism that she deals with in her field is like, I had no idea. Like,
really?
I didn't know that was a thing. And it's like, whenever someone shares something like that with me, especially on racism being a white person, I'm always like, thank you. Like, I'm so sorry I didn't know that. Thank you for telling me that. I really appreciate that knowledge. And yeah, you never stop learning things, but the same thing happens with positive things. Like,
yeah, that's kind of more where I was going. I was wondering.
For every single negative thing that you learn, you know, you learn of another woman who's found an awesome way to overcome something, or a woman who has been promoted to do something amazing. And there's people like, you know, Bonnie Ross, like her position is just so cool. Like there's a lot of, there's no bottom to inspiration, I think.
Yeah, this is rad. I think this is a good place to wrap up the part of this part of the interview. Thank you very much, Alanah, for doing this. It means the world to me. We're going to cut ahead now to the part of the show we call Instant Noodles. Yep.
I'm intrigued.
Yep. Instant Noodles is just a quick series.
Do I get noodles?
Well, no, you're going to get questions, actually. But before we do that, we really need to thank our two Patreon producers whose extraordinary generosity keeps the show going. That's Xavier Saint-Amand Tremblay, which is a really cool name.
That is a very cool name.
Yep. And along with Xavier Saint-Amand Tremblay, our new Patreon producer, Robert Nieder. Robert Nieder, thank you, Robert. Thank you, Xavier. Thank you so much to all of you on Patreon who give at every level, for all of you who subscribe at all, etc. All of you who listen, all of you who watch, just thank you very much. Now, Instant Noodles.
Noodles. Is that the noise noodles make?
I don't know. That's my noodle. I probably need a noodle noise. I may need to ask. I need to ask Robbie for one. What's the best song written in the last 100 years?
Am I supposed to answer it really quickly?
Yeah, it's because it's instant.
Freaks and Geeks by Childish Gambino.
Oh, that's a neat choice. Why?
It's very creative.
It's very creative.
Yes.
Okay, there we go. We'll move on.
Not confident in that one.
What's the first word you think of when you hear the sound of your own voice?
When I hear the sound of my own voice, Alanah.
Think of my own name. There we go.
Yeah.
What's your favorite flavor ice cream?
Vanilla. Cookies and cream. Totally cookies and cream.
Oh, cookies and cream one. Okay,
yes.
You're like, wait, you're just like, no, gotta pull it
back.
Regret. No.
It's definitely cookies and cream.
If you could travel through time and meet anybody, who would you meet?
Hitler.
Ooh, really?
I find him fascinating.
Yeah?
Obviously awful.
Yeah.
But also just
people can be awful and fascinating. Yeah. I mean, that's why Hannibal Lecter's a great character.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
So you go back and meet Hitler, which is like, what point in his life would you want to talk to him?
Probably just before he officially rose to power, when, you know, people were endorsing him and recognizing the power of his speeches. Like what he was thinking at that point in time, or how he thought that would evolve, or if there was ever any good in him at all, or if it was ever rooted in anything good. And how does someone whose motives seem that thin actually get that powerful and manage to trick people into doing that much horrible stuff?
Neat.
Fascinating.
Yeah, it would be.
Terrible. Fascinating.
Yeah, again, terrible. That is interesting. What's the most terrifying creature in the natural world?
Spiders.
Ah, that was quick. Okay, now you're probably tired of this crap, but I'm going to hear about it if I don't ask you that. Australian and spiders is your answer.
Yes.
I mean, is this? Are you being ironic for American's sake?
No,
or?
spiders are terrifying.
Okay, yeah. I'm with you. Spiders are terrifying.
Yes.
They're cool.
But the frequency of which you see them in Australia is exaggerated by Americans.
Okay.
Yes.
What about Australians jumping in the water with sharks?
I didn't know that was a thing.
That's a thing, yeah. Do you know about Shark Week?
Yeah.
Okay, well, so you guys have Shark Week.
Yeah.
Have you ever noticed that everybody on Shark Week is Australian?
No.
The people who jump into the water with the sharks are almost invariably Australian.
But maybe they show you Australians in the American Shark Week.
Ah, do they show you Americans in Australian Shark Week?
I think so. But it's also like sometimes I will watch a TV show and the voices of characters are meant to be Australian, but are just so obviously not Australian. They are what I call American Australian. So it's like a version of Australian that is intended to be for the entertainment of Americans, and it just sounds dumb.
Fascinating.
Yeah, that's a thing.
What's the worst of those?
I mean, there's a character in Gears of War 3, which is a game that I adore, that is not a real Australian, and it was very frustrating.
Who's the best fictional Australian?
The best fictional Australian?
Yeah, like who's the best made-up Australian that's actually like an Australian?
I don't even know if I have an answer to that.
Okay, really?
Can it just be like Hugh Jackman in Australia?
Yeah, I mean,
he's still technically fictional in that movie.
Sure. All I remember about Australia is him dousing himself in water, honestly,
exactly,
and discovering new things about myself that I did not know. Yeah,
I'm glad you could experience that.
That might be the hottest thing that's ever happened.
He's a beautiful man.
He is a beautiful man. Mm-hmm. What's your favorite word?
Illiterate.
Ooh.
Or alacrity.
Okay, that's 2 words.
Illiterate is for the way that you say it. The illiterate, I like saying it. Alacrity for the meaning.
All right.
So for those who don't know, alacrity is to do something with alacrity is to do it with eager willingness.
Yeah.
So it's like, I will do this with alacrity. It is just, you're just throwing yourself into it passionately and excitedly.
Thank you for doing Pockets Full of Soup with alacrity. I
Absolutely.
appreciate it. Who was your first kiss?
His name was Marcus. Mm-hmm. He was my first boyfriend, and we kissed during the end credits of a terrible movie.
What was the movie?
I don't remember.
But it was bad.
It was very bad.
So the kiss was more memorable than the movie?
The kiss was also bad. So.
Oh, okay. I wondered about that.
I think we both had braces at the time.
Oh, yeah. I have a braces kiss story that I'm not going to tell right now.
Not great.
Yep. Cake or pie?
Oh, man. It depends what kind. In America, it's cake.
That's interesting.
Australian meat pies are delicious.
Oh, yeah. Meat pies are really good. Although, have you had a good pasty? You haven't been to the Midwest, right?
I still don't know what the Midwest counts as. What's the Midwest?
The Midwest
Georgia?
No, that's the Southeast. No, the Midwest stretches from the industrial Midwest, which is Michigan, Ohio, Indiana,
I've not been to any of those.
all the way over until you hit the mountain states.
I mean, that doesn't help because I don't know what any of that is.
Okay, well.
Utah, does that count?
Utah is not really the Midwest. It's more the West.
I don't think I've really been to any of the mid states.
Anyway, they have these wonderful things called pasties, which are delicious meat pies. And I suspect they're similar to Australian meat pies in composition.
Very good. I don't like sweet pies very much, so I would take a cake over a pie.
I love a good pasty. I love a good meat pie.
Yeah, meat pie is very good.
Let's get some meat pie. It sounds real good. Finally, what's one question you have for me?
Yeah, you should have prepared. I would have taken the whole week to think about that.
Well, yeah, but if I give you
one
time,
question
you'll
that
come
I
up
have
with a really
for
hard one.
you.
Yeah, one question you have for me. It's one thing you want to ask.
You were a pastor.
Yeah.
What is the most challenging or confronting thing that someone ever came to you with?
Oh, wow. Okay.
Or rather, to make it a less invasive question, how did you deal with the most challenging or confronting thing someone came to you with?
The most challenging. I think you run into some real situations. For me, even though some of the emotional and family situations, you deal a lot with families in ministry. You're not a counselor, or at least I wasn't. Some people are licensed pastoral counselors. They have psychological training. I am not.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Oh, yeah. In the United States, you can go get a master's degree in psychology or counseling and a divinity degree and be what's called a licensed pastoral counselor.
That's really cool.
Yeah. But I'm not. And so I was always very reticent about giving that kind of advice. And instead, my job was to be there for support and to help out in more spiritual and or physically practical ways. But you dealt with a lot with family stuff in that, and you'd see some truly painful family situations that were. But for me, death was always the hardest part. That was a very personal thing. Watching somebody die.
Yeah.
Even when it was a good passing, and those do happen.
Yeah.
That was, I could tell better stories, but if I'm being honest, watching people fade away and die of wasting diseases, cancer is a monster.
Cancer is absolutely a monster.
And also the pneumonic conditions that arise when someone becomes very old.
Yeah.
I think those moments were probably the most challenging, and I dealt with them. In that situation, you don't lie to people. That's not part of that job. That's not part of that vocation or calling in those moments, especially. You have to be honest with them, but you have to be gently honest.
Yeah.
You can't just tell somebody you know why something happened. You can't, no matter how comforting it might be for them,
It's a lie.
look them in the eye and tell them, yes, I think this was better. I think God wanted your child to die. I think God had wanted it was time for them to, that for me, that was not something that I particularly felt I could do. And so instead, you held people and you cried with them and you said, I don't know. And you told them you loved them and that other people did too. And you told them if you believed that the person that had died had, that, you know, you don't have to ignore the spiritual convictions and realities. You can talk about heaven, and you can talk about hope, and you can talk about resurrection and be honest, but what you can't do is tell people that you understand reasons.
Yeah.
That was hard.
Yeah.
And I understand why a lot of people in religious faith are more comfortable with that than I am, because one, their convictions are different than mine, and two, frankly, it's a much more helpful answer in terms of that immediate moment.
So probably easier.
Yeah, but it's not something that I ever really felt comfortable doing.
Yeah, well, that does sound very hard.
So that was hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was probably, there are a lot of good things about pastoring, and that was one of the hard ones. Actually, in a way, I liked doing funerals even, because I was pretty good at it.
Yeah.
And
how does that work?
Funerals?
I'm good at funerals.
Yeah, you do the things I just said, and you do them with some composure and kindness. You keep it short, and you don't try to take everybody in the room and turn it into. You don't try to twist the emotions to your own convictions. You help them try to get through what they're getting through and reach their own conclusions.
And not try to make the situation more comfortable for yourself.
Yeah, or not for yourself, and don't. Every moment in life, to a degree, is an evangelistic event, but there are times when the last thing in the world a room full of people needs to hear, that's, angry at God, is hearing just how wonderful and nice he is at that worst moment. That may not be the right message for that for that time.
Yeah.
There's a big difference between love and comfort and everything's sunny.
That's true.
I'm not a big fan of that.
My granddad passed away, I think, 2 or 3 years ago now. And he was like just an incredibly good sick person. Like, he never gave up. And I think we had an email from the doctor that said something along the lines of his stubborn perseverance, even in the face of horrible adversity, was like awesome or something like that. I have a tattoo because of him, actually. He was in the police force, and I got his bravery medal tattooed on me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And he was just an awesome person. And I mean, he died very suddenly, but in a way that was like, we never had to see him waste away. And it was also just a really positive funeral where, I mean, it was really sad.
Yeah.
But we had a lot of laughs, and they had a slideshow of photos of him, and just like, he would always fall asleep at Christmas. So they posted like 5 of these photos of him asleep at Christmas throughout the whole ordeal. And it was like, this is exactly what he would have wanted. Yeah. It was like, it was a good funeral.
That's marvelous. Felt right. Actually, that sounds terrific.
Yeah. He was an awesome person, and I feel like he would have laughed.
Approved of that.
Yeah.
Maybe he did.
Yeah.
Couple of quick thank yous from people here. Let's scroll to those. Occasionally, we ask people to offer thank yous, very short ones for people in their lives. I hope I'm pronouncing the name right. Ryan Amy says, thank you to my friend Bob for his great friendship and support.
That's really sweet.
Yeah. Let's scroll down here to another one. Oh, look, my iPhone decided to tell me to upgrade right now. Well, thank
you, iPhone.
Yeah, that's very helpful. I'm really, really glad I needed that. Oh, Steve Henry. I'd like to thank my older brother Bob. He's been looking out for me his whole life, and even as adults, he encourages me to always be the best version of myself I can be.
That's awesome.
So that's really cool. A final question here, one more from Edie Luca or Eddie Luca. I'm not sure which. I'm guessing Edie from the spelling. Alanah, is there any reason you dye your hair? It rocks. No. There we go.
So mostly I'm just like, I like that color. I'm going to put that on my head.
Yep. When I notice you change your hair color a lot, and I always think of Scott Pilgrim. We talk about Ramona Flowers.
Don't do
She's
it quite
fickle.
that much. Yeah.
It's a great moment there.
The brown, I haven't had a natural colored hair in a pretty long time. It was just like, I got home one day. Jen usually would be the person who was bleaching my roots, and she wasn't here. And I was just like, you know what? I can't be screwed. So I just went and bought some dye and dyed it on the spot. It was like, yeah, all right, this is it now, I guess. And
it's pretty groovy. I like it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I feel like I'll probably go back to another ridiculous color at some point, but it's nice to not have to maintain it. It's very difficult.
Very difficult to maintain the color. I don't have that problem for some reason.
Jealous.
Yeah. Of this?
Yes.
I mean, you could do it.
And also that fabulous beard.
I like the beard. It's a little short right now. I got it trimmed real short for I'm doing a wedding soon. So
Do you like shampoo and condition your beard?
Sometimes, sure. It's very comforting. But
Does
I
it
don't
make
always
it softer?
do it. Occasionally, yeah. It's kind of soft. I mean, you're welcome to.
Oh, that is very soft.
Yeah, it's. I never get itchy, scratchy beard.
Huh.
So yeah.
Lucky.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate in my beard. I've had this beard since I was 18 years old.
Wow.
Yep, never shaved it off.
Whoa, I wonder what you would look like without it.
Freakish. When I was thinner, I looked like young Stephen King when I had a lot of hair and no beard.
How much would I have to pay you to shave your beard off?
I don't know. That's a great question. It would take a lot. I'm really attached to it. Alanah, where can people find you?
I am on almost all of the social medias at Charalanazad, which is just my name in the middle of Charizard.
Okay.
I just started with CHAR and then Alanah and then Zod. People don't pick up on that often. People will say like Charlahazard. Like it's just Charizard.
I never got it.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not very bright.
But you're not that into Pokemon either, right?
No, not
So
particularly.
I feel like if you don't recognize Pokemon, that's gonna.
No, but Charizard I know. I mean, he's the most powerful Pokemon card ever.
Sure.
Sure. All right, there we go.
All right. All right.
So
I'll let you have it. I'm not going to actually
engage on that one. Anything you want to plug?
Not really.
No?
I'm not very good at the self-promotion stuff.
No
so
upcoming
I guess
shows, no albums, no commissioned artwork, nothing at IGN you want to show off?
Not really. Just keep listening to Pockets Full of Soup because Jared is an excellent person.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you. That
I'm
was
going to
kind
plug
of
you.
Oh, you're going to plug me. I need the hair plugs. You're going to plug me. And thanks to all of you so much for watching and listening. A few announcements. We hope that around the time you hear this, we're going to be on iTunes. We'll see. iTunes is a fickle master.
I thought you were going to explain what iTunes was.
No.
For those who don't know,
there's been a lot of
iTunes
questions
is,
about
an
it, so
Apple
we're
product?
hoping that's happening now. But I ain't promising anything because it's outside of my control to some degree. Also, you can find us on SoundCloud and on YouTube, of course. In the meantime, you can join our Facebook group. We'd love that. We have a Patreon at patreon.com/JaredPetty. If you want to support us there, we'd really appreciate it because it helps a lot. Also, subscribing on YouTube helps a lot. Telling people about the show helps a lot. Just all kinds of things are helpful. Every possible place you can go, it really helps keep things going. Keep writing letters. You can send us mail at pocketsfullofsoup.com. That's mail@pocketsfullofsoup.com.
MALE.
Yep. No, MAIL. MAIL. And if you want your mail read, let us know that's okay in the message or your 140 character thank you. Those are also really nice to get. We try to read those when we can. Thank you all so much. Also, coming soon, the Patreon exclusive episode, which should be up sometime around when you hear this, maybe a little after. And finally, coming very soon for those of you at the proper Patreon tier for it, Pizza and Dinosaurs presents The Thirst of Laser Dracula, Episode 1, It Was a Dark and Stormy Bite.
Incredible.
So yes, that's coming for those of you who are on that Patreon tier, and you can find out more about that on the Patreon.
What is it?
What is it? It's a bedtime story for grown-ups. I'm writing a serial story, an old style. Hey, you just write a piece of the story at a time and reading it out loud, kind of like a build your own audiobook.
That's so great.
Yeah. So it's the story of Laser Dracula and his gnarly laser eyes.
I love it.
And a cast of characters.
Excellent.
Around him. Yeah, thank you.
Good job.
No problem. Appreciate that. So that's once again, that's for some of our Patreon subscribers. Thank you guys so much. And until next time.